as you guys can see today, we're in a different part of my house. I am in one of the living rooms that me and my dad had basically taken over as the sewing room. So this room turns into our workshop where we make all of our dresses because it's right next to where the sewing machine is. But right here, like, I have my mannequin, and over here is the costume rack, and down here is like the sewing supplies. So this room is clean right now, but I know when we start working on a dress, it turns into like a disaster. But today we are doing a video that I haven't done yet, which is working on a dress, and today I'm working on Cinderella. So I ordered a wig and I've been waiting for it for a little while. I know it's taking a little while too because of the current situation and because it's coming from the UK. It's really pretty. I got pictures of it. I love it. I just don't have it in my possession yet, but it is on its way. It left New York like yesterday, so it should be on its way to where I live now. So I'm expecting it to come pretty soon, so I just need to get started on the dress. Story, I actually had a makeshift Cinderella that I had started, and I hated it. Just kidding, it wasn't too bad. The color just wasn't right, and it was supposed to be my own spin on Cinderella. But I don't know, I just wasn't too happy with how it came out. I didn't like how it was sitting on the petticoat. There was a chunk of fabric missing in the back. So I was like, you know what, I want to start from scratch and make my own Cinderella, like from the beginning, you know, make every part of it. So that's what I'm doing today. My dad ran to the store to buy some duct tape because the way we make our patterns for all of our bodices is a duct tape pattern. So my dad's at the store right now. I just cleaned up this room, that way you all wouldn't see it from like a disaster, because we just finished working on Rapunzel. So it was just really messy, so I cleaned it up, that way you all wouldn't see a mess, and we can start working on Cinderella. I bought all my fabric. I'll actually show you all the fabric. So fabric number one is this satin. It's like all folded right here, but the shiny part is on the inside. If you all can see it, it's a pretty light blue. There's a lot of this, and it's really heavy. There's a lot of this. And then this tulle, I'm not too sure how this is all going to work out yet, which you guys will get to see. Not everything works out. For Rapunzel, I actually made the skirt twice. When we made Ariel, the corset was made twice. So not everything works out in the first try. So we'll see. I bought this tulle, and we'll see what it turns out. Like, I have an idea for it. I just don't know if it's going to work. And the last fabric I got is this light blue organza. So I have it all mapped out in my head. What I'm gonna do with it is just, is it gonna work? I don't know. So we will find out. I am gonna speed up some of the clips because this isn't really a tutorial, because like I said, not everything always works out for us. So it's more of just like, watch us make it. So yeah, hope you all enjoy.
Okie dokie friends, I am laying in bed making this audio, so if I sound kind of funny, it's probably because I just woke up and I'm laying in bed. Anyway, the first thing we do is we wrap me in saran wrap, and this is honestly the most uncomfortable thing ever. I hate it, but it works. And then we put strips of duct tape all around the top, and this is where we're going to draw our pattern. And then the saran wrap is just so it doesn't stick to like my clothes and my skin, but that doesn't really work out, and it does still get stuck to my skin. And then my dad tapes the back, and because obviously I can't do it on myself, so shout out to my dad. Okay, so at this point, I had already mapped out part of the pattern that I wanted, like where I wanted the panels and stuff, looking at a picture of the dress from the parks. And so my dad is a perfectionist, so he measures everything out, and he does the marks to the, like, inch. And then we do the side seams, and that's where we're going to cut it on the side, and then the back, that's where the zipper is going to go. So then it was at this point that we realized that the back of the dress actually has these little like points. So we had to use some duct tape and stick it to my shirt. And trust me, yes, it gets stuck to my arms and it hurts. But anyway, There is us marking the bottom that I just mark it like however high I want it on my hips. And then here's the funny part. Alright, so now that that's off, the next thing to do was to cut out all the pieces. So right here I'm trimming the bottom, and then I cut out each of the panels one at a time. Alright, so now all the pieces were cut out, and the next step was to lay them all out on the satiny side of the fabric, and then we just pin them, and we have carpet, so we just stab it into like the carpet, like the pins, to hold it down. So this part is my dad's job because I really don't have the patience to do this. I'm a perfectionist, but I don't have patience. So he marked 1/2 inch around each side of every panel. That's a lot to say, but just around every piece of the panels, like he drew another outline that was 1/2 inch away. Usually we'll do 1 inch, but we didn't really want to waste any fabric, and we were pretty confident that the pieces would be fine if we did 1/2 inch. So he just did that while I laid there on the floor. Okay, great. Now that all the pieces were marked, the next thing to do was to use this pizza cutter thing. It's not actually a pizza cutter, it's made for fabric, to cut out all of the pieces like along the line that my dad drew.
Oh, I just cut my finger.
Anyway, after I cut my finger like a dummy, I put a band-aid on it, and then I came back with the pizza cutter. But honestly, I was struggling a little bit. My dad doesn't struggle as much, I guess because he can put more weight on it. I was using all my might, but anyway, I switched to scissors and then just cut out all those pieces, and I am arranging them in the like order that the bodice is going to go in, and then I just kept on cutting. Alright, then I'm going to lay all those pieces onto this dark blue lining fabric, which you will see later is kind of a mistake on our part, but I didn't really want to buy any more fabric, and I figured if this was like at my house already, I would just use it. So I'm just going to do basically the exact same thing and lay all these pieces out onto this dark blue fabric and just cut them out of this one. Alright, so now that the bodice was all cut out, it was onto the skirt, and to make skirts, usually we make them as long as the fabric like permits us to. So I think this one was like 54 inches, and so I just went 54 inches all the way around, while my dad holds the tape measure at the top. Next thing we did was cut this big shape out. It looks kind of like a slice of pizza, and then we use this as the pattern for the rest of the panels. We basically did this over and over again with as much of the fabric as we could. We didn't really want to waste any, and I wanted to put as much fabric on the skirt as possible, so I think we made 5 panels if I'm not mistaken. Oh, my dad rolling around. Okay. Okay, so then it was on to pinning the right sides of the fabric together just to sew down one of the sides to sew the panels together. So I just cut out a couple of those clips because it's the same thing where I was just going to get the fabric, pinning the right sides together, and then stitching and stitching and stitching all the right sides together until all the panels were together. Okay, great. So after doing that, I'm going to lay them to where like the point of all the pieces is together, and I'm just cutting out like a little semicircle, so little by little. I didn't want to cut too much, but obviously the first little snip was enough for like my fingers, and I need it to be big enough for my waist. So I just kept on snipping away. Alright, then after cutting that out, I measured my waist with elastic, sewed that, and then me and my dad are pulling the elastic tight to like stretch it out, and then pinning the fabric all the way around the elastic so that when you let it go, it gathers at the top. So then to sew the elastic to the skirt, you just have to go around all the way, but while you go, you have to pull the elastic really tight, that way it gathers. So it's kind of hard, but I just did that. Okay, great. So now that I did that, I put it on my mannequin, and my mannequin had 2 petticoats on. So it was the like hoop skirt, and then I put like a tulle petticoat on top of that. And so here I was just adjusting all the ruffles, and I had not seen the skirt on there yet, so it was pretty cool to see it. So the next order of business was trimming it a little bit because it was obviously like way too long right now, and there was just a lot of fabric, but I wanted to have that room because I didn't want it to be too short, so I was just trimming it. Oh, there we go. There, now you can see. So I was just trimming it a little bit, that way it wouldn't be so overlapped on the floor. Okay, now that that's done, I am pinning all the way around, so I'm just folding it, and I kind of used the hoop skirt as like a pattern, like that's how long I wanted it. So I just folded it all the way around, and this took forever because I had to pin it, and then it kept coming like unfolded because the flap was still too long. You might see what I mean in a second. So yeah, so I just went all the way around the skirt and pinned it. Okay, so after taking it off the mannequin, I sewed all the way around the hem, and I'm so sorry I didn't film this. Number 1, it took forever, and number 2, my phone was about to die, so that whole time it was plugged in. But right here, I'm just trimming off all that extra fabric from where I hemmed it. And then literally once I hemmed it, the bottom skirt was finished, so I just had to work on the bodice. So my dad had marked them because he knows I'm really bad at sewing in a straight line. So he marked them because he is the perfectionist. And so I just went along and sewed all of these panel pieces together one by one. Okay, great. So now you can see the bodice on the floor over there, and now I'm pinning all the pieces of that dark blue fabric. And oh, you'll see later how much I regretted using the dark blue. Actually, I don't know if it'll be in this video or the next one. It might be in the next one. But anyway, I am just pinning those together basically to do the exact same thing. So pin all the right sides together and then sew each of those panels one by one. Alrighty, so I ate dinner and now it was dark, so I had to turn my ring light on. But here I am laying out the organza and then the glittery tulle I got. And then I actually found some tulle that I had used from that first try I mentioned when I was trying to make Cinderella, but I hated it. So I actually had a lot of that tulle left, so I was like, oh, I'll layer them, that way it'll be a little bit more sparkly, and it has like some more like fine glitter. And so what I did here was just cut out a big rectangle. Okay, and then after I had all my rectangle pieces, I made what I called my fabric sandwich. So to make the glitter like sit on the inside of the organza when I flipped it inside out, I had to do the glitter tulle, and then 2 layers of organza, and then that top glitter tulle, I pinned them together, and then I just ran a stitch all the way around, not around, but like down the sides to make it like a tube. Okay, then I came back and flipped my tube inside out, and then I was like, oh, let me just trim off like those side pieces, so I did that. Alright, so I think I took the tube in because it was too wide, and then this was my first idea that didn't really work out, and this is what I mentioned, that not everything always works out. So I was like, oh, let me just pleat them, because in the parks their sleeves look like they have like little folds, so I kind of tried to use the same technique that I used when I made the top of Aurora. But that didn't exactly work out for me, so just watch me fail. So right here, I am like hand stitching those little pleats because I thought, oh, well, I'll hand stitch them. That way they don't come like unfolded when I'm wearing it. But then I realized that honestly it was too flat. Like after pinning it and sewing it, I like put it up to my shoulder and it was just way too like flat. There was no poof to it, and so I gave up. So at that point, it was kind of late already, so I just cleaned up, I vacuumed all the glitter off the floor, and I gave up for the day. I was going to get back to it another day, so it was fine, and I'm really sorry I had to split this video into 2 pieces. I worked for about 8 hours this day, and probably about like 7 hours in the next video, so I did have to split up the material, but the next video will be coming very, very soon. Thank you if you watched this far. I hope you enjoyed watching me figure out how to make Cinderella. Like I mentioned, not everything always works out, and it's always a learning experience. Learn something new every single time you make a dress. But that was the end for this day, and I will see you all in part 2 of this video.